Ford appears to have finally received an EPA rating on their cheapest base option, the F-150 Lightning Pro. Bizarrely, Pro is the lowest end one. I don't know how that works, but it sits around $40,000 before dealer markup, so we'll see how much these actually get sold for. But the EPA rating aligns exactly with what Ford estimated the entry-level F-150 Lightnings would get, which is 230 miles of range. But what matters more is the efficiency, and that's where we can dig into the numbers a little bit more here and compare it to other electric pickup trucks. And keep in mind the context here. These are pickup trucks, okay? They are inherently larger, they're heavier, they're less aerodynamic than all EVs today because pretty much all electric vehicles so far have been either crossovers, sedans. Occasionally you get a pretty large SUV here and there, but it's kind of ridiculous for people to look at these efficiency numbers and compare them to their Model Y or compare them to a Lucid Air, that kind of thing, because those are incredibly aerodynamic vehicles that don't have big beds or as large a frontal face area as a pickup truck traditionally would. So yes, the official numbers the F-150 Lightning clocked in is 68 miles per gallon equivalent, which, to give some context to that, that is the best miles per gallon we've ever seen in an F-150, considering this is the first time it's all electric. So the least amount of energy is consumed per mile of any Ford truck in history. But yes, comparing it to all other electric vehicles on the market, this is pretty dang low. It's not insanely low as the electric Hummer, which doesn't even necessarily need to get an EPA report because it's over 9,000 pounds, which puts it in a completely separate class of vehicle. But the F-150 Lightning is clocking in at a little bit less efficient than a Rivian R1T. The Rivians with their large battery packs were averaging around 70 miles per gallon equivalent. So this one's pretty close. But the important thing to keep in mind here is that the Rivian has a total range of around 315 miles, whereas this F-150 Lightning, which is going 230 miles, is slightly less efficient. And keep in mind, that's with a dual motor powertrain, that's all-wheel drive, whereas the Rivian is a quad motor powertrain, 4 motors in total. So why is the F-150 Lightning less efficient than a Rivian despite going less distance? You know, you would think because the truck range isn't as high, it doesn't need a battery pack as large. Shouldn't it be lighter? Shouldn't it not weigh as much and get better efficiency? Well, this says a lot about the size difference between these two trucks and their aerodynamics. So far as we can tell, all Rivians come with a tonneau cover that helps cover up that bed and make it a bit more aerodynamic than a traditional pickup truck like the F-150, which seems to have a wide open bed by default. And of course, the F-150 Lightning is a much larger truck, both in the frontal surface area as well as the size of the bed being 5.5 feet versus 4.5 on the Rivian. And because it's a larger vehicle, that means it's going to consume more energy per mile. And according to this EPA report, it's saying that the Lightning takes 49 kilowatt hours to go 100 miles. So again, not bad at all for a Ford pickup truck. That is industry leading, but compared to the rest of the EV space, this isn't looking too good, because it means that similar to how your gas pickup truck is going to get less miles per gallon and it's going to cost you a lot more to fill that up, similarly, the F-150 Lightning is going to cost a whole lot more to charge than a traditional electric vehicle because of how much energy it's going to require you to just go 100 miles now. You can do some math and quickly realize that Ford is actually rocking slightly over 100 kilowatt hour battery pack in this pickup truck, and somehow they're planning on selling that for $40,000, which still really confuses me because I've heard the CEO talk about how profitability is important to them, and of course they want to make a profit, and they've reaffirmed that they will be profitable on every EV they sell, but I still cannot quite figure out what battery packs they're buying to the point that you could sell a vehicle that has over 100 kilowatt hours for $40,000. That just sounds way too cheap to be true. Like, if that was possible, then the battery packs on the Mach-E would be a whole lot cheaper than what they're actually charging for the Mustangs as a whole. And the other potential bad news about having an electric pickup truck design that requires a lot of battery cells as a whole, that's not relying on a structural battery pack or next generation cell technology, this means that scaling up of production is going to be very, very hard. And we already know Ford has had to close off orders of the F-150 Lightning because they've got way too much demand already and nowhere near enough production capacity to actually deliver these trucks. So if every single one, just to go 230 miles is going to require over 100 kilowatt hours. That means as you ramp up, and of course, there will be some consumers out there that want the 300-mile range variant that's going to cost over $74,000. You're going to be very, very limited inherently by just the number of batteries available. And that's not even addressing the current chip shortage that's already impacting Ford's production. So far, Ford has said that they have no new price hikes to talk about, and they're standing by these price points of the Lightning, but I would not be shocked at all if they change their tune once mass production begins and actually start delivering some of these things and realizing, oh crap, getting a hold of that many battery packs and trying to scale up to what the CEO said, which is like over 150,000 electric trucks per year, each one of those requiring at least 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, and the long range version at this rate, because adding more batteries to the truck is going to decrease the efficiency overall. I'm thinking all the high-end F-150 Lightnings are going to require 150 kilowatt hour battery packs just to barely cross that 300-mile range mark. So as much as I'm criticizing them for the lower efficiency and, you know, bringing up the fact that this is going to have a hard time scaling, I do genuinely think this is an awesome product. I don't know exactly how Ford is planning on selling these profitably, but it seems like they want to take active measures to prevent scalping from going on. So they want to get customers to sign contracts saying they agree not to resell the F-150 Lightning within a certain amount of time. That may scare away some people from actually taking delivery, but they can afford to do that because the demand backlog is so long. And even if the dealer markups are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 above MSRP, that's still an astoundingly good deal to get a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack and go over 200 miles per charge on a vehicle that's under $50,000, and mention that's an all-wheel drive pickup truck with a decent sized bed and a lot of practicality to go along with it. So F-150 has consistently been the best-selling vehicle in America for decades. The fact that they are capable of making an electric one for a somewhat reasonable price is a good sign, in my opinion, and I could think of tons of people in my personal life that are kind of that weekend warrior demographic of like, I just use my pickup truck to load stuff and drive around town, and they don't really take a lot of long-term road trips with a pickup truck. They're mainly just using it for projects, you know, going to Home Depot and back. This would be perfect for that, especially with gas prices as high as they are. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of new people on the market that are like, I want something practical and I want something familiar like the F-150, and I don't need it to go 300 miles on a charge as long as it's reasonably priced and it's starting at $40,000. Not to mention, F-150 Lightning still qualifies for the federal tax credit of $7,500, so that's going to help a ton. And keep in mind, you won't have to be paying for expensive gas and oil changes or smog checks or brake pad replacements as often with the F-150 Lightning, and it could become substantially clear to a lot of Ford fans out there that this is way, way cheaper than the gas version, and that's why I think Ford could probably get away with raising the price quite a bit from here on out, because the demand is absolutely there, and the production capacity will not catch up with demand for many, many years to come. As long as they're planning on using these traditional battery pack approaches of just using modules and non-structural packs, and still want to have, you know, an intricate lineup of vehicles and all of them have individual options, I expect the production ramp to be somewhat similar to the Mach-E, which is kind of slow if you're at least comparing it to the production ramp of the Model Y. So I would love to test drive one as soon as I possibly can, because it does sound like the coolest Ford truck of all time. And if there's people out there that are sick of waiting for the Rivian because it's gotten too expensive and the backlog has continued to grow, or people that are like, hey, I don't know when the Cybertruck's coming out, F-150 Lightning I think might be a perfect option for a lot of those EV fans that are looking for a pickup, because I do kind of believe Ford will be able to ramp their pickup truck a bit faster than Rivian can. They've got the infrastructure for it, and they're an established automaker. They're not a startup, so they have some experience with mass producing EVs. And by the end of this year, I think it will very much likely be the most popular and most common electric pickup truck. But that's just 2022. Within the next couple years, I think that may shift a little bit with the Cybertruck coming out. But what do you guys think of the EPA report with the F-150 Lightning? Is the efficiency surprising to you? Is it better than you thought? Worse than you thought? All that good stuff. Feel free to let me know what you're thinking down below. Thank you to everyone supporting the channel over on Patreon. It seriously helps out a ton, as does just watching these videos. Thank you all. Take care and have a great day.